The front door opened with that familiar creak I'd been hearing for 7 years. She walked in pulling her suitcase behind her, wearing sunglasses indoors even though it was almost evening. Classic move. I was sitting on the couch, coffee in hand, watching her like I was watching a movie I'd already seen the ending to. She took her time, set the suitcase down slowly, removed the sunglasses with what I can only describe as theatrical precision. Then she looked at me with this expression that was probably supposed to be mysterious and conflicted. "We need to talk," she said, her voice heavy with manufactured emotion. I took a sip of my coffee, didn't say anything, just waited. She walked closer, stopped about 10 feet away like she was standing on a stage. These past 2 weeks gave me a lot of time to think. About us. About everything. She paused, clearly expecting some kind of reaction. When I gave her nothing, she continued. "I'm just not sure about us anymore. I don't know if this is what I want." There it was. The line she'd probably been rehearsing in her head for days. Maybe even practiced in front of hotel mirrors while John was in the shower. I watched her face, waiting for the next part of her performance. "I think we need to seriously consider whether this marriage is working," she added, her voice dropping lower. "Whether we're truly happy." I nodded slowly, set my coffee down on the side table, stood up and stretched a little. She was watching me closely now, probably expecting tears or anger or desperate questions about what she meant. Instead, I smiled. "That's interesting timing," I said calmly, "because I actually signed the divorce papers this morning. They're on the kitchen table if you want to take a look." Her face froze, just completely stopped moving. It was like watching someone hit pause on a video. "What?" The word came out barely above a whisper. "The divorce papers," I repeated, walking toward the kitchen. "I filed 3 days ago. My attorney rushed them through. All you need to do is sign your part, and we're done." I picked up the folder from the counter and held it up. "See? Already got my signature right there." She was staring at me like I'd just started speaking a foreign language. Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. No words came out. "Oh, and say hi to John for me," I added casually. "Hope you two had a nice time in Portland." That hotel on the waterfront looked pretty fancy from the photos. The color drained from her face so fast I almost felt bad for her. "Almost. How did you?" She started, but her voice cracked. "How did I know?" I walked back to the couch and sat down, completely relaxed. "Let's see. I know you weren't at your friend's place in Seattle like you said. I know you spent 2 weeks with John Mitchell from your office. I know about the Italian restaurant on the 3rd night, the hiking trip on day 5, and that expensive hotel room you checked into on day 7. Should I keep going?" She was shaking now, actual visible trembling. "You had someone follow me?" "I had someone document the truth," I corrected. "There's a difference. And honestly, Jack did incredible work. The guy's thorough, got everything on camera, and messages, the whole package. Your attorney's going to have a rough time arguing against it." She tried to take a step forward, but seemed to forget how legs worked. "We can talk about this. We can work through this." I laughed. Not a mean laugh, just genuine amusement at the absurdity. "Work through it? You just walked in here with your little speech about not being sure about us. You wanted me to beg, didn't you? Fall apart and ask what I did wrong. Promise to change. Maybe even cry a little." "That's not." She started. "Yes, it was," I interrupted. "But here's the thing. I've known for 3 weeks. 3 weeks of watching you lie to my face. 3 weeks of listening to you talk about finding yourself while you were planning a romantic getaway with another man. So no, we're not working through anything. We're done." She sank onto the armchair across from me, her whole dramatic entrance completely deflated. "This is insane. You can't just end 7 years like this. I'm not ending it. You did that when you booked that trip with John. I'm just making it official." I picked up my coffee again, found it had gone cold. "The papers are pretty straightforward. I kept what's mine, you keep what's yours. The house is rented, so that's simple. No kids, thank God. Should be finalized in a few months." "What about counseling?" she asked, and I could hear the desperation creeping into her voice. "Don't we owe it to ourselves to at least try? Counseling works when both people want to fix something," I said. "You don't want to fix us. You want to have your cake and eat it too. Keep me as the stable option while you explore your feelings with John. That's not how this works." She was crying now. Actual tears, not the manufactured kind from her entrance. "I made a mistake. People make mistakes. You made a choice." I corrected her gently. "A series of choices, actually. Every text message, every lie, every moment you spent with him. Those weren't mistakes. They were decisions. I stood up and walked toward the kitchen. I'm ordering pizza. You should probably call someone to pick you up. Or call John. See if he's available. Oh wait, probably not a good idea. His wife might answer. That last part hit her like a physical blow. His wife. Yes, Susan. Married 12 years, 2 kids. Jack found her information on day 2 of his investigation. Nice lady from what I hear. She'll be getting her own folder of evidence tomorrow morning. Figured she deserves to know what her husband's been up to. The look on her face was something between horror and disbelief. She opened her mouth several times, but nothing came out. Anyway, I said, pulling out my phone to order food. You've got until the pizza gets here to grab whatever you need for tonight. After that, we can arrange a time for you to get the rest of your things. I'll be civil about it. I'm not angry anymore. Honestly, I'm just relieved we're doing this now instead of 10 years from now. She sat there in complete shock as I scrolled through the pizza app, completely unbothered. The woman who walked in ready to deliver her rehearsed speech was gone, replaced by someone who just realized her entire plan had exploded in her face. And me? I was genuinely hungry. Pepperoni sounded good. 3 weeks earlier, I was in the kitchen making breakfast when I noticed her phone light up on the counter. She was in the shower, and normally I wouldn't have looked. Privacy matters, right? But this time something made me glance over. The message preview showed a name I didn't recognize. John. And the message said, "Can't wait for Portland. 2 weeks of just us." My hand froze halfway to the coffee pot. Portland. She'd told me she was going to Seattle to stay with her college friend Rachel for 2 weeks. Something about needing space to clear her head and reconnect with old friends. I thought it was odd, but hadn't pushed back. I didn't pick up her phone, didn't unlock it or read more. I just stood there staring at those words until the screen went dark again. My first instinct wasn't anger. It was clarity. Sudden, cold clarity about a lot of small things I'd been ignoring. The way she'd been distant for months. How she started working late more often. The new clothes she bought, but never wore around me. The password she added to her phone after 7 years of leaving it unlocked. I'd explained all of it away because that's what you do when you trust someone. You give them the benefit of the doubt until you can't anymore. That message was my line in the sand. She came out of the bathroom 10 minutes later, hair wrapped in a towel, humming some song I didn't recognize. She picked up her phone, saw the message, and smiled. Actually smiled. Then she looked at me, and the smile shifted into something more neutral. "Coffee smells good," she said. "Just made it," I replied, keeping my voice normal. "So when do you leave for Seattle?" "Friday morning." Rachel's so excited. We haven't had proper time together in forever. The lie came out smooth as butter. No hesitation, no guilt in her eyes. She'd practiced this. 2 weeks is a long time, I said, testing the water. She shrugged. "I know, but I really need this. Work has been crushing me, and I just need to decompress somewhere else. You understand, right?" I nodded. "Of course. You should do what you need to do." She kissed my cheek and grabbed her coffee, already scrolling through her phone, probably texting John back. I watched her walk to the bedroom and close the door, and I made my decision right there. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. I was going to know everything first. That afternoon, I called a guy I knew from work. His brother-in-law had used a private investigator during his divorce, and apparently the guy was exceptional. No nonsense, got results, kept things discreet. His name was Jack Sawyer. I met Jack at a coffee shop 2 days later. He was maybe 50, average height, wearing a plain jacket and jeans. Nothing about him stood out, which I figured was probably the point in his line of work. We shook hands and sat in the corner booth. "So your wife's planning a trip," Jack said, pulling out a small notebook. "And you think she's not going where she says she's going?" "I know she's not," I corrected. "I saw a message. She's going to Portland with someone named John. She told me she's going to Seattle with a friend." Jack nodded, writing something down. "You want to know what she's doing in Portland? Who this John person is? Whether this is a one-time thing or something that's been going on. I want to know everything," I said. "And I want proof. Photos, messages, whatever you can get. Because when this is over, I don't want any room for her to talk her way out of it." He looked up from his notebook and studied my face for a moment. "You've already decided then. You're not doing this hoping I'll find nothing." "I'm doing this because I need the truth," I said. "Whatever that truth is. But yeah, I'm not naive. That message wasn't sent by accident. This has been planned." Jack closed his notebook. "I can help you. My rate is $100 per hour plus expenses. I'll need some information about her. Full name, photo, Workplace, vehicle description, phone number if you have it. I have all of that, I said. How soon can you start? Today if you want. I'll need a retainer up front. 2,000 should cover the initial work. I didn't hesitate. Wrote him a check right there. Some people might think that's a lot of money, but I thought about what 7 years of my life was worth, what my peace of mind was worth. Suddenly 2,000 seemed cheap. Jack took the check and slid it into his jacket. I'll start surveillance tomorrow. She leaves Friday, you said? Friday morning. Early flight. I'll be at the airport, Jack said, and I'll follow her from there. You'll get daily updates. Photos, locations, anything relevant. I'll also run a background check on this John person, find out who he is and what his situation is. His situation? I asked. Whether he's single, married, divorced. Where he works. Whether he's got any history that might be useful to know. Jack leaned back in his seat. Knowledge is power in these situations. The more you know, the better position you're in when this all comes out. Over the next 2 days, Jack did his homework. He called me Wednesday evening with his first report. John Mitchell, Jack said over the phone. 36 years old. Works at the same company as your wife, different department. Marketing, if I'm reading this correctly. And here's the important part. He's married. Wife's name is Susan. They've got 2 kids, ages 8 and 5. I sat down on the couch, processing that information. He's married. Very much so, Jack confirmed. From what I can see on social media, they look like a normal family. Regular posts, kids' activities, the whole picture. Susan has no idea what her husband's planning this weekend. Does she deserve to know? I asked, more to myself than to Jack. That's your call to make, Jack said. But in my experience, yeah, she does. Not yet though. Wait until you have everything you need first. Then you can decide what to do with the information. Friday morning came. She kissed me goodbye, wheeling her suitcase out to the waiting rideshare. Told me she'd call when she landed in Seattle. I waved from the doorway and watched her leave. My phone buzzed 20 minutes later. Jack. She just boarded a flight to Portland. Departure in 40 minutes. I'm on the same flight, 6 rows back. I texted back a thumbs up and sat on the couch in the quiet house. Part of me still couldn't believe this was happening, that she'd actually gone through with it. That 7 years meant so little that she could lie to my face that easily. But another part of me, the part that had been paying attention to all those small signs, wasn't surprised at all. Jack's first photo came through that evening. Her and John at some restaurant, sitting close, his hand on hers across the table. They were smiling. Looked happy. Looked like a couple. I stared at that photo for a long time. Then I saved it to a folder on my phone and went to bed. 2 weeks suddenly seemed like plenty of time to get everything in order. Jack wasn't kidding about being thorough. Over the next 14 days, my phone became a documentary of my wife's affair. Day 2, Saturday morning. Photo of them having breakfast at some trendy cafe with floor-to-ceiling windows. She was wearing that blue dress she'd bought a month ago and claimed she was saving for a special occasion. Guess this qualified. Jack's text came with it. Powell's books after this. Then hotel check-in at the Riverside. Room 412. I've got a room on the same floor. I was at the grocery store when that message came through. Just standing in the produce section, holding a bag of apples, reading about my wife checking into a hotel with another man. The guy next to me asked if I was okay. I told him I was fine and moved on to get coffee. That night she called me. Video call. She was sitting on what looked like a hotel bed, but the angle was careful. Just her face and some generic wall behind her. Hey, she said, smiling. Just wanted to check in. How are things? Same as always, I said. House is quiet. How's Seattle? Good. Rachel and I went to this amazing bookstore today. You'd love it. Huge place, like 4 floors. Howell's Books was in Portland. 4 floors. She wasn't even trying hard with her lies. Sounds great, I said. You two having fun? Yeah, it's nice to just relax and catch up. We're probably going to do some hiking tomorrow if the weather holds. She tucked her hair behind her ear, that gesture she always did when she was pleased with herself. Well, enjoy it, I said. You deserve a break. We talked for another 5 minutes about nothing. She asked about work. I asked about Rachel. Both of us lying smoothly to each other's faces. When we hung up, I looked at the photo Jack had sent earlier. Her and John, his arm around her waist, both of them grinning at the camera like teenagers. I forwarded it to my attorney with a message, evidence file growing. Sunday, Jack sent a video. Short clip, maybe 20 seconds. Them walking through some park, holding hands. She was laughing at something he said. Then he stopped, pulled her close, and kissed her. Not a quick peck. A genuine, intimate kiss. I watched it once. That was enough. Monday brought photos from a fancy Italian restaurant. Tuesday was a hiking trail with mountain views. Wednesday they drove out to the coast. Jack's commentary was minimal but effective. Timestamps, locations, descriptions. Building an airtight case one photo at a time. Thursday afternoon, I met with my attorney. Her name was Patricia Brennan, mid-40s, with a reputation for being fair but ruthless when needed. I sat in her office and showed her everything Jack had sent me. She went through each photo methodically, taking notes. "This is comprehensive," she said. "Your investigator knows what he's doing. The timestamps and locations are particularly useful. I want a clean break," I told her. "No drawn-out court battles. No he said she said arguments. I want this documented so well that she has no choice but to accept the terms." Patricia looked up from the photos. "What terms are you thinking?" "Simple division. I keep my accounts, she keeps hers. The house is rented, so that's straightforward. No alimony. We've only been married 7 years, and she works full-time. I'm not asking for anything that isn't mine, and I'm not giving anything that is. And if she contests, then we show these to a judge," I said. "But I don't think it'll come to that. She's going to be too shocked that I know everything." Patricia nodded slowly. "I can have papers drawn up by tomorrow. Standard no-fault divorce. But we'll attach this evidence in case she decides to make things difficult. You're certain about this? Once we file, there's no easy way to reverse course." "I've never been more certain about anything," I said. That night, day 5 of her trip, she called again. This time just audio. Said she was tired from hiking all day with Rachel. Her voice sounded happy, relaxed. Meanwhile, Jack's latest message showed her and John having dinner at some upscale steakhouse, wine glasses in hand. "I miss you," she said into the phone, and I had to stop myself from laughing at the audacity. "Miss you too," I replied, because what else was I going to say? The truth? Not yet. Not until she was back, and I had every piece in place. By day 7, Jack had compiled enough material to fill a small folder. Photos, video clips, even screenshots of text messages he'd managed to intercept through some technical method he didn't fully explain and I didn't ask about. One message particularly stood out. She'd texted John, "This is perfect. 2 more weeks, and then back to normal life. But at least we'll have these memories." Back to normal life. Like she was just going to walk back into our house and pick up where we left off. Like I was supposed to sit there and pretend everything was fine while she carried on with John at work. I showed that message to Patricia the next day. "This helps," she said. "Shows clear intent and premeditation. She planned this trip specifically to be with him. That's going to matter if she tries to claim it was a momentary lapse in judgment." "She's going to try every excuse in the book," I said. "I know her. She'll cry. She'll blame me. She'll say she was confused or going through something. I need to be ready for all of it." Patricia leaned back in her chair. "The best defense against manipulation is documentation and emotional distance. You've got the documentation covered. Can you handle the emotional part?" I thought about that question. A month ago, the answer might have been no. But watching those photos come in day after day, seeing how easily she lied to me, how happy she looked with him, something had shifted. Not into anger or bitterness, more like clarity. "Yeah," I said. "I can handle it." Day 9 brought something interesting. Jack called me instead of texting. "Got something you need to know," he said. I did more digging on John Mitchell. Found Susan's contact information, social media profiles, phone number, email. "You said you wanted to know everything about him. Well, his wife deserves to know everything too. You think I should tell her?" "I think she has a right to know her husband's spending 2 weeks in Portland with another woman while she's home with their kids," Jack said. "But timing matters. If you tell her now, it might blow back on you. She could call your wife, confront John. Whole thing explodes before you're ready." "So I wait," I said. "You wait until your wife gets back, until you've confronted her and filed papers. Then Susan gets the same courtesy of knowing the truth. That way John can't spin some story and make himself the victim." Made sense. I saved Susan's information in a separate file and marked it for later. Days 10 through 13 blurred together. More photos, more restaurants, more scenic locations. She called me 3 more times. Each conversation was the same. Her lying about Seattle, me pretending to believe her, both of us playing our roles. On day 14, her last full day in Portland, Jack sent me a photo that was almost funny in its irony. Her and John at the airport, waiting for their flights. But here's the thing, they were at different gates, heading to different cities. She was flying back here, to our city. He was flying to San Diego, probably some excuse to Susan about a work trip. Separating now to cover their tracks. Jack's message said, "Your wife's flight lands at 4 tomorrow afternoon. I'll be on the same plane, but I'm done after that. 2 weeks of surveillance complete. I'll have the full report and all files ready for you by tomorrow morning." I sent back, "Thank you. Seriously, you did incredible work. Just doing my job. Good luck with everything." The next morning, I met Jack at the same coffee shop where we'd started. He handed me a thumb drive and a printed folder, both containing everything he'd gathered. Photos, videos, messages, timestamps, locations. A complete chronicle of 2 weeks of betrayal. "One more thing," Jack said as I was about to leave. "Susan Mitchell's information is in there too. In a separate file. When you're ready to let her know, you've got everything you need." I shook his hand. "I won't forget this." "Most people don't," he said with a slight smile. "Hope things work out for you. Or work out as well as they can, given the circumstances." I went home, put the folder in my desk drawer, and sat down to wait. Her flight would land in a few hours. She'd come home with her rehearsed speech about needing space and not being sure about us. And I'd be ready, not with anger, not with tears or questions or desperate attempts to understand why, just with the truth, and sign divorce papers. The waiting was almost over. The first night she was gone, I ordered Chinese food and watched an action movie with the volume turned up. She'd always hated those films, called them mindless. I enjoyed every explosion. Day 2, I called my buddy Aaron. We'd been close in college, but drifted apart. Marriage does that. You get absorbed into being a couple and forget your own friendships. "Man, it's been forever," he said. "What's going on? Wife's out of town for 2 weeks. Thought we could grab a drink." We met downtown the next evening. Talked about work, sports, life. He mentioned a monthly poker group with guys from college. Asked if I wanted to join. I said yes without hesitation. The old me would have checked with her first. This version didn't need permission. During those 2 weeks, I rediscovered myself. Hit the gym 4 times instead of once. Cooked what I wanted. Stayed up late reading. The house felt lighter without her in it. I wasn't tense anymore. Wasn't monitoring my words or waiting for criticism about dishes or laundry. Day 6, I reorganized the garage. Found camping gear we'd never used because she didn't like outdoors. Found my old guitar buried under her boxes. I pulled it out and spent an hour relearning forgotten chords. My neighbor Nathan came over while I was playing badly. "Didn't know you played," he said. "Used to. She always said it was too loud." I strummed another chord. Nathan nodded. "My ex-wife hated when I worked on cars. Now I've got a whole workshop and nobody complaining." We talked about divorce. His and mine that was coming. He didn't pry, just offered perspective from someone who'd survived it. "Best thing I ever did," he said. "Should have done it sooner. Should have done it sooner." Those words stuck with me. How long had I been accepting less than I deserved? Years. The answer was years. Day 9, I reviewed my finances. We'd kept separate accounts, split bills evenly. No kids, no major shared debts. The lease was the only thing tying us together. I called the landlord and discussed options. Breaking early, taking over myself, or letting it expire. Having that conversation felt like another step toward freedom. Day 11, I verified my bank accounts were solely mine. Confirmed direct deposits. Made sure our finances were completely separate. The manager asked if everything was okay. "Just being thorough," I said. That afternoon, Jack sent another photo. Her and John at the ocean, arms around each other, watching the sunset. I looked at it and felt nothing. No anger, no jealousy, just distant observation. She'd done me a favor, shown me who she was before we bought property or had kids. 7 years felt like a lot until I considered the alternative. Day 12, I met Patricia to finalize papers. Clean, simple, no-fault divorce with evidence attached. "This is smooth," Patricia said. "Once she signs, just wait for court processing. 3 to 4 months." I signed every line. My signature looked steady, confident. "When I tell her, she'll try everything to change my mind," I said. "Best way to handle it. Stay calm. Don't engage emotional manipulation. You're informing her of a decision already made, not asking permission." Patricia leaned forward. "If she denies anything, show proof. Don't argue." Day 13, she texted. Can't believe there's only 2 days left. Part of me doesn't want to come home yet. Part of her didn't want to come home. To our marriage. Because she was too busy with someone else's husband. I typed back. Enjoy the rest of your trip. Short. Simple. No emotion. Day 14, I went to the driving range. Used to do this with my dad in college. She'd said golf was boring, so I'd stopped. But standing there, focusing on the swing, I remembered why I liked it. Meditative. Just me and the target. Aaron joined me. We hit balls and talked about nothing important. Sports, weather, movies. Normal conversation. No tension. You seem good, Aaron said. Whatever's going on, it's working. Yeah, I said. It is. That night, I slept better than I had in months. Solid, peaceful sleep. Day 15 morning, I made coffee. Did laundry. Cleaned. Bought groceries. Normal Saturday routine, except it felt lighter. Like weight I'd carried was finally gone. Her flight landed at 4. She'd be home by 5:30. At 3:30, I put the divorce papers on the kitchen table where she couldn't miss them. Put Jack's thumb drive in my pocket. Then I sat on the couch and waited. Not nervous. Not angry. Not sad. Just ready for this to end. After I dropped the bomb about the divorce papers and John's wife, Susan, she just sat there frozen. The silence stretched for maybe 30 seconds before her brain seemed to reboot. You're bluffing, she finally said, but her voice shook. You don't know anything. I pulled out my phone, opened the folder Jack had sent, and held it up. Photo of her and John at that Italian restaurant, his hand covering hers. Day 3. Giovanni's on Morrison Street. You had the seafood pasta. He had steak. Her face went pale. I swiped to the next photo. Day 5. Hiking trail east of the city. Nice view. You wore those new hiking boots you bought last month. Swipe. Day 7. Checked into the Riverside Hotel. Room 412. You stayed there 4 nights. She reached for the phone, but I pulled it back. I've got 2 weeks of this. Photos, videos, text messages. Jack was very thorough. Jack? She whispered. The investigator I hired 3 weeks ago, right after I saw John's message on your phone about Portland. I put the phone away. You weren't subtle. The lies were lazy. Seattle versus Portland. Rachel versus John. 2 weeks of girls' time versus 2 weeks with a married man. She stood up suddenly. This is insane. You violated my privacy. You had someone follow me. I documented the truth, I said calmly. There's a difference. And honestly, you made it easy. You didn't even try to hide it well. We can fix this, she said, switching tactics. The tears started. I made a mistake. I was confused. Work has been stressful and John was just there and I wasn't thinking clearly. You were thinking clearly enough to book flights, plan 2 weeks, lie to my face repeatedly, and video call me from hotel rooms while pretending to be at Rachel's place. I stayed seated, completely relaxed. Those aren't mistakes. Those are choices. Baby, please. She moved closer. 7 years. We can't throw that away. You threw it away when you got on that plane to Portland. I'm just making it official. She tried anger next. So what? You're perfect? You've never done anything wrong. Never made me feel neglected or taken for granted. If you were unhappy, you should have said something. Had a conversation. Suggested counseling. Literally anything except plan a romantic vacation with someone else's husband. I stood up and walked to the kitchen. But you didn't want to fix us. You wanted to have both. The stability of marriage and the excitement of an affair. That's not true. Then what is true? I turned to face her. Explain it to me. Make it make sense. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. That's what I thought, I said. The papers are on the table. Read them when you're ready. Everything's fair. You keep your stuff, I keep mine. No alimony since we both work. The lease is up in 4 months anyway, so housing is simple. This doesn't have to be ugly. What about John's wife? She asked quietly. You said something about Susan. Oh, she's getting the same folder you're looking at right now. Tomorrow morning. Figured she deserves to know her husband spent 2 weeks in Portland while she was home with their kids. The color drained from her face again. You can't do that. I absolutely can. And I will. Because unlike you and John, I think spouses deserve honesty. She sank back into the chair. He'll lose everything. His marriage, his kids. Probably. That's what happens when you make choices like this. Actions have consequences. You're really doing this, she said, and it wasn't a question. I really am. She looked at me like she was seeing a stranger. Maybe she was. The version of me that would have accepted her excuses, begged her to stay, agreed to counseling while she kept seeing John on the side. That person was gone. The pizza should be here in 20 minutes, I said, checking my phone. You've got until then to pack a bag for tonight. After that, we can arrange a time for you to get the rest of your things. I'll be respectful about it, but you need to leave. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore, I said, not unkindly. Call a friend. Get a hotel. Call John. See if he's available. Though his flight landed in San Diego 2 hours ago, so probably not. She stared at me for a long moment, tears streaming down her face. Genuine tears this time, not the manufactured kind from her entrance. Then she got up and walked to the bedroom. I sat back down on the couch and finished my coffee. Through the bedroom door, I could hear drawers opening and closing. A suitcase zipper. 15 minutes later, she came out with an overnight bag. Her eyes were red, makeup smeared. She looked at the divorce papers on the table but didn't touch them. I never meant to hurt you, she said. Yes, you did, I replied simply. You just didn't mean to get caught. She had nothing to say to that. The doorbell rang. Pizza delivery. I got up to answer it, paid the driver, and came back with the box. She was still standing there holding her bag. Goodbye, I said. Take care of yourself. She walked to the door, stopped, looked back like she wanted to say something else. But whatever it was, she kept it to herself. The door closed behind her with a soft click. I opened the pizza box and took a slice. Pepperoni. Still hot. Perfect. My phone was already out, composing an email to Susan Mitchell. Subject line: Information about your husband you need to see. It was time for everyone to know the truth. I sent the email to Susan that night. Attached every photo, every video, every piece of evidence Jack had collected. Kept the message simple. Your husband spent 2 weeks in Portland with my wife. I thought you deserved to know. I'm sorry you have to find out this way. She responded within an hour. Just 2 words. Thank you. The next morning, my phone started blowing up. Not from my ex-wife. From John. 6 missed calls, a dozen texts ranging from angry to desperate. I blocked his number without reading past the first one. My ex tried different approaches over the next week. Showed up at the house twice. I didn't answer the door. Sent long text messages about how we could work through this. I responded once, signed the papers. Called my mom to try to get her to talk sense into me. My mom, who'd never particularly liked her, told her I seemed happier than I'd been in years. She signed the papers on day 9. Patricia called to confirm. She didn't contest anything. Signed everything as written. Should be finalized in about 3 months. Good, I said. And I meant it. Through Aaron, I heard what happened to John. Susan filed for divorce immediately. He got removed from their house, limited custody of the kids. Word got around their workplace too. Apparently, dating a co-worker while married didn't look great for either of them. Last I heard, John transferred to a different branch in another state. My ex-wife put in her resignation 2 weeks later. I didn't feel bad about any of it. They made their choices. 3 months later, the divorce was final. I signed the lease on a smaller place closer to downtown. 1 bedroom, just for me. Decorated it exactly how I wanted. The guitar had a proper stand in the corner. My camping gear was in the closet, ready to use. I joined Aaron's poker group. Made new friends. Started dating casually, nothing serious. Took a weekend trip to the mountains with Nathan and actually used that camping equipment. Slept under the stars and didn't think about her once. 6 months after that day she came home from Portland, I ran into her at the grocery store. Pure coincidence. She was in the produce section, looked tired. Older somehow. Hey, she said quietly. Hey. I replied, putting apples in my cart. How are you? Good. Genuinely good actually. And I was. No performance, no exaggeration. Just the truth. She nodded, looked like she wanted to say more. Maybe apologize again, or explain, or ask if there was any chance. But she must have seen it in my face. There wasn't. Take care, I said, and moved on to the next aisle. That night, sitting in my place with a beer and a good movie on, my phone buzzed. Aaron asking if I was coming to poker next week. I texted back yes. Life was simple now. Uncomplicated. No lies, no games, no wondering if the person I was with actually wanted to be there. Just me, making choices that made sense, surrounding myself with people who respected me. I thought about that day she walked in with her suitcase and her rehearsed speech. How she expected me to fall apart and beg. How completely wrong she'd been about who I was and what I'd accept. Best decision I ever made was hiring Jack. Second best was signing those papers. I took a sip of my beer, settled into my couch, and smiled. This was what freedom felt like, and it was worth every penny.